Hey, what's up guys? This is TBone here. Welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. In today's episode, I wanted to cover the Apex Predator stack and how you can increase the damage output given what we have. If you have the full deck, one of the questions you might be asking is, how do I get more damage in order to attack the main boss here? Now, if you saw my previous stream, I did talk about how large these bosses' health are compared to the trophies that we collect and the trophy collections. Well, one of the nice things is they did reduce the trophy requirements so that you can actually collect more things. So that's good. But now the question is, well, if you have the deck, or even if you don't, just how do you actually manage to deal damage to the big bosses here? Well, the way that you want to go after it is actually not using the full deck. The full deck there's a maximum amount of damage that you could deal, and all of that sort of pales in comparison with what you can get using the dark golem deck. So I have a couple of deck options I'm going to explain, and I'm going to talk about the reasons why I use them. So the first one is one that uses 2 support cards, unit area. So these 2 cards, they will both stack the immortal killer attack boost of 25%, 2500%. So you get 5000% damage boost for all of your immortal killer cards if you get to 200 intensity. And the nice thing about this is these cards will also generate intensity every turn, and they don't spawn dark power gems, which sort of get in the way of your other cards. Now, in terms of the full deck here, really the best cards are going to be the Master Collection card. The Master Collection card both generates Power Gem 2s, which is by far the best out of the entire deck, and also it will increase the attack by 6% for every Power Gem on the board. It also increases the number of gems that it spawns based on intensity. So having more immortal killer intensity is going to be good. So this synergizes really well. I would say that if you don't have the full deck, but you have multiple copies of Master Collection card, that's actually good. So you don't have to chase after this deck. If you had let's say 2 Master Collection cards and an event card, you're still getting good damage output there. The only thing you're lacking is the 900 times damage boost for an event card. The Master Collection card's already getting 800%, and so you're not too far off there. And in terms of relics here, if you don't have 5 relics for this particular event, you could also substitute in ones for the Dark Commander, which would work just as well, because those are also going to help generate intensity because you have the Dark Commander on there. So these 2 will be the ones that you can use. The name of the relic is going to be the Energized Battle Axe. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to use this team first. We're going to go up against a boss. I'm going to show you the activation order, and then I'm going to show you also a couple of other options. So here we have a world boss that I just got rally to. It's a 20-second boss. This deck really does best in 60-second bosses, but it does just fine in 20 seconds as well, as long as you're fast. And so I'm going to explain to you how this works. So this particular deck, you need to get your intensity up to 200 before really you can do anything. And before you do that, though, you just need to make sure that you get 1 match of dark gems, because what happens here is as you make dark gem matches, you're going to spawn more dark gems as well every single turn, because as soon as you hit, as soon as you match, at the next turn, you always get more dark gems. And so you're going to be able to, you're not going to have any issues getting the battle skill ready. And now that we're over 200 intensity, here's the pattern. Every time the boss is at 1, you want to basically activate the 2 support cards and then activate the water cards afterwards. And that's going to be Master Collection cards first, then your ultimate form. All right. And then what you're going to do afterwards is you're going to wait 2 more turns after this. So we're going to see how much damage you can deal here. So at 294 intensity, our cards are dealing about 100 trillion per attack at this point. And now it really just comes down to the speed. Okay. And then what we're going to do here is the boss is going to attack again, but we're going to wait 2 more turns before we activate our cards. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the boss to attack. So when the timer goes down to 1, activate the support cards again, and then quickly stop your turn, and then activate your skills again. My phone is lagging right now, so I'm not really doing as much as I could, but I can generally get a few hundred trillion in here in a 20-second clock. And so you can see here, the intensity has gone higher, and so we get more power gems. And this time we're dealing, about 130 trillion. Okay, so I'm going to let this time out because I'm not going to be able to get more attacks given that the phone is lagging right now. So you can see here I did just 2 attacks, but this wasn't really a quick attack. I could actually do much better, but I wanted to sort of show you just with not a ton of effort, I was able to deal about 234 trillion. Now it's not that it's quite enough to really get anywhere, but if you can be faster, you could probably push this up to about 500 trillion, and then that will allow you to go in after a couple of attacks to get to the 5%, 10%. It's at least better than the other options where you really don't have ability to get much higher. Now, this deck works tremendously well in a 60-second battle because then you can really get your intensity high, and then you can deal easily over a quadrillion damage against bosses, which really helps. Okay. Now there are some other options as well. So here's some other ideas where if you wanted to use this ultra rare card from the Dark Golems deck, you can do that as well. You can also pair it with the combat ready crew, because what that does is you can sort of overwrite the dark power gems with it, and then you could use your you can basically get more damage output here. So we're going to try with this deck now and see how much damage we can get here. So we're going to play this similar way, but this time we don't have to wait until the intensity is at 200, because with the ultra rare card, you can activate it right away. Now with this though, it doesn't stack, it's a single one. So we're getting 2,500% output, percent boost instead of 5,000% boost. And so it is going to be a little bit weaker, but here we go. But we do need to make sure that we actually get the battle skill ready. So we do need to do gem matches for the dark gem so that we can actually get it to activate. Sometimes if you don't get it quite right, then if you don't get it in time, then you're gonna have to wait a couple of turns. But in this case, I didn't match it quite as quickly, so I'm going to have to wait one more turn. It's the same principle. You still need to wait until you actually get hit by the boss. So you need to activate that immediately before you get hit so that you can actually activate the damage boost. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and do a match here. And now let's compare the damage output difference with this setup here. So here we're going to activate the combat ready crew first, then we're going to activate the master collection cards, followed by the ultimate form last. The ultimate form card only generates power gem once, so you always want to activate that last. And you can see here we're dealing 30 and 50, so we actually got 80 trillion here in a single shot. So not quite as high as what we saw with the 2 support cards, and that is because with the 2 support cards we are able to get basically double the amount of damage. And then we're going to go ahead and activate it this time again. And what's nice is the timing wise, because all of these cards have a 4-turn cooldown, you're going to be able to activate either the ultra rare card or the support card first, followed by the the apex cards, and that's going to be consistent. Okay, and now that we have more power gems on the board, I expect that we're going to be dealing a little bit more. So 40 and then 30, so we deal about now we're at about 100 trillion. So we dealt another 200 trillion. It's actually a little bit less than what we got with our 2 support card options. And that's because we're not gaining additional power. We're not gaining really that much more. We're losing on the boost, but what we gain in return is that we got more power gen force right off the bat, and so we're getting a little bit more damage here. And you're just gonna have to take my word for it that this is actually a little bit better than these options. The ultra rare card in this case actually isn't as good of a card for this entire deck because it doesn't give you any boost. And overall, if you have more Master Collection cards or even with event cards, you'll eventually out damage the deck without the ultra rare card in there. But I would say that in a long battle, it is still best for you to use the support cards or the I would say the support cards from the Golem deck. Now we're going to try one more time, and this time we're going to switch this out to the support card instead of the ultra rare card and see if it makes it a little bit easier for us. Okay, so we're going to change this to Dark Commander, excuse me, with an Immortal Killer bonus. And we're just going to switch this out. This is one of the rare situations where the support card actually does a little bit better. And what I have here is I have 2 Master Collection cards, the ultra rare ultimate form, and I put in the event card in here. Okay, and so event card works just fine because it gives a 4% damage boost. So now we have actually more damage boost as well. Not quite as well as much as if I had 2 support cards, but let's see if we can do a little bit better this time. And so the thing is, like with this deck, even with these additions, it doesn't make it so that you don't have to attack the bosses multiple times, but it makes it so that each of your attacks gets a little bit more damage output, so that it at least makes it easier for you as you go on your journey to getting the 5% threshold. 5% really is sort of the challenge that we all have to deal with right now, and it is sort of a grind, right? It is a grind, but this option increases the damage, so it at least makes it easier for us. So the thing with support cards is we do want to wait until our intensity goes up to 200, but that's actually okay for us because we want the intensity to be high anyway, because it will help us in the long run in the generation of power gems. Now that we are at, we're going to be at 200 intensity, we're going to go ahead and activate our support card just right now, and then we're going to do a quick match here. Every time you attack with your water cards, you're also going to be getting more power gems as well. So if you have the ultra rare card, you're going to generate more cards. But I think the ultimate form also does the same thing. So here we're going to activate the Master Collection cards, then ultimate form, and then the event cards last. And so this does give us a nice set of power gems, right? And we are able to deal a similar amount of damage here, right? So 60 plus 10. So we're about 80-ish trillion with this attack. Now, taking a look at the way I'm playing this right now, I am playing this pretty passively in that I am not going very fast. But if you were able to get more turns in and match quicker, you're going to be able to get more damages in, more hits in, which will of course then increase your damage overall. Okay, and so you just have to follow this pattern. It's once you get the pattern down, it's pretty easy, and it's just sort of automatic muscle memory at that point. And so here once again we got about 2 attacks in. This time we got just a little over 100 trillion. So each of these attacks with each of these teams, I'm able to get approximately 200 over 2 hits. So the more hits that you could actually increase, then the better you're going to do. Now, even if you don't have the full thing, even if you don't have the full Master Collection card or the full ultimate form, like the full deck, like I was saying earlier, you don't really need to do it, because you could do something like this. Like this was the team that I used for a very long time, for quite a few days actually, which didn't allow me to get MVP, but it allowed me to get enough damage output to actually get some 5% thresholds. So that, I think, if you can just get a few of those bosses in, and even if you could get a couple of 20%, 50%, or even MVPs on some bosses, that will go a long way in helping you get through, get to some additional trophies. So here we have we've reached the 5% threshold using 3 attacks. Okay, so with 3 attacks, we're able to get 9 million trophies, plus we were rallied to it, so we get another 4. So this really helps in sort of getting you a little bit higher in the in your leaderboards. So that is basically the sort of the trick here to how you can increase the damage output for this particular deck. Excuse me. And that is focusing on the Master Collection cards and event cards, and then the support cards of the Dark Golem deck. If you can do that, if you can get the timing down, you should be able to do a lot of damage over a long period of time. And I hope this helps you to place well in this particular event. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.